welcome to the 5th episode of the Alt Pulse podcast.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Laura, and we're here to talk to you about our experiences with music in the rock, alternative and metal scene.
And today we are going to have to do a bit of a catch-up with you all, seeing as it's been fucking ages since we've done one of these. Just talking about where our heads have been at so far in 2025. A bit of news, the gigs we've been to, upcoming vlogs for the channel, a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I really hope that that we haven't been spending too long away from you all, you know, and that you're still with us.
Yeah, obviously we've been putting out some gig vlogs and stuff this year already. We haven't actually done a podcast for this year so far. It's kind of been a bit of a weird one, really. Like, we've just had so much of our stuff getting in the way recently. Like, and that's obviously not a bad thing, because it's all stuff outside of music.
Yeah, well, I mean, before anything else, thank you so much to those of you out there that have seen the vlogs that we've put up on our channel.
Yeah, we are getting close to 100 subs now.
It's quite exciting, yeah. If we can get to 100 by the end of this year, that will make me very happy. Yeah, like any of you tuned into the One Step Closer vlog, that was really fun to edit. And then Spirit Box.
Yeah, Spirit Box was the last gig vlog that we were able to put out on the channel, and that was a month ago.
Yeah, and Ithaca as well. So, I mean, if I'm being truly honest with you all, I've been suffering from a bit of burnout lately.
Yeah.
When it comes to editing, I don't think people out there realise just how much goes into editing our vlogs, really.
For sure.
You know, and we do have full-time jobs, both of us.
Yep.
One of which, I mean, my job requires me to commute into London and back every day, and by the time I get home, it's 7:45.
Yep.
And by which point, I've already been editing all day as part of my job. So the last thing I want to do is come home to edit more, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
So it's a weird, you know, it's mentally, you know, I've got to get my head back in the game, I would say.
Yeah.
Plus, as well, in my spare time, I've been doing things like going to a lot of open mic nights and, you know, just chilling with mates, and we've been watching a lot of wrestling lately, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. That's one thing we should briefly touch upon, is that we've started picking that up since the start of the year.
Well, since the WWE has gone to Netflix, it's something new you might not know about us, is that we do watch WWE.
We do. I used to watch it like way back in the day, and I stopped watching it like around
until I kind of brought her back into it.
Yeah,
I would say.
Bit.
But you've got one up on me in that you've actually been to a WWE live event
twice.
Technically.
Yeah.
Twice, yeah. Whereas I've only ever at Download, just bringing it back to the music thing, when NXT UK and the OG NXT from, like, I say OG, when the 2016 NXT, when it was Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, when that came over to Download in 2016, that I was watching it there. So yeah, we've been quite immersed in that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, staying up late to watch pay-per-views and
yeah, we stayed up to watch Elimination Chamber.
Although they're not called pay-per-views anymore, are they? Because you don't
Premier
pay
Live
Premier
events
Live
or
events,
whatever it is.
yeah, whatever. In my heart of hearts, they're still pay-per-views.
Yeah, I'd still call them
So,
pay-per-views.
I mean, just in summary, you know, that nonsense. We just had a whole bunch of things going on.
Yeah.
Family stuff as well.
Of course,
you know.
yeah, that's always a thing.
But look, we're gonna. I'm hoping to be a bit more consistent.
Yeah, I'm hoping that now that festival season's coming up, and we've got so much in the pipeline, which we'll discuss in a moment. But
yes.
I'm hoping that will be like sort of the driving force to get us back in, because as well, for me, on a personal note, if some of you guys don't, well, I'd be surprised if you don't know it by now, but one of my biggest hobbies outside of like the music stuff is Pokemon, and as of this year, I've actually become an official judge for Pokemon. Yay! So in my spare time, when I'm not playing the game, I'm judging the game.
So that's been taking up a lot of your time. That
takes up quite a bit of my time, just like learning all of the ins and outs of that. I've had a couple of work trips this year already, one of which was abroad, which I'm very grateful for. And then I just got really ill in March. Like I was ill one week, went away with work and then I was ill again.
It was all go for you in March, essentially.
Yeah,
wasn't
March
it?
was really busy.
March is a very busy month for both of us. Again, it sounds like we're trying to make excuses. We're really not. We're just, that's the reality of what our lives have been like so far this year.
It's just been really busy, but
look, we are back. This is the first podcast of the year.
Yes, and it won't be the last.
No, hopefully not. So we thought we'd just give you an update as to where we've been since the Spirit Box vlog.
Yes.
So a lot of these will have vlog content incoming. Some of these may not.
Yeah,
I feel.
Yeah, I can tell you that the 2 gigs that I will talk about will not have vlogs.
Okay, so well maybe
reasons.
we should start with that then.
Yeah.
What gigs have you been to?
So since the Spirit Box vlog, we went to see Green Lung and Unto Others. We will hopefully have a vlog of that at some point. Obviously, it's been nearly 2 months now, but
well, we'll hopefully have a coherent vlog as well, because I did a lot of the footage of it, and I got horrendously drunk.
Yes, he was a bit of a nightmare. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So
I had to get all of the band footage as well.
So if I can somehow make a coherent vlog out of that, I mean, it's going to be a mission, but we'll try and make something entertaining.
Yeah. So we had that, and that was kind of like the first week of me getting ill as well, because I was at a Pokemon tournament as well that same weekend, and I got really ill from that and being at this gig.
Yeah, we essentially we booked a hotel in London.
Yeah, we stayed for like a few nights in London together, so that was really nice.
That was a great weekend. We had a bunch of mates come over. Some of which came over from America specifically for this gig. So that was really insane. Cool to hang out with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Dactyls, to Triceratops, and to Stay Puffed out there.
Yeah. I also went to see Vukovi at Kentish Town Forum. They were supported by Unpeople and RTO. There might be a vlog for that. I'm not sure yet, just because A, it's been a month since that gig now, but B, I didn't actually get as much footage. Maybe it's because obviously I was on my own, but also I was like catching up with a friend. I have a friend who's like good mates with Vukovi and stuff, and so we were having a nice catch up because I hadn't seen her for a couple of years. So don't have your hopes up for a vlog there, because I'm not sure, but we'll see. And I guess my most recent gig was a few days ago as we're recording this. Yumi at Six's final ever show. It was quite an emotional night. For various reasons, and they were supported by Kid Kapichi and the Excerts, and I can guarantee you that there'll be no vlog of that, unfortunately.
Seeing as there's definitely going to be no vlog of the Yumi at 6 gig, then maybe you could go a bit more in depth here about it.
I can, yeah. So, yeah, obviously Yumi at 6 have been going for like 20 years at this point, and they announced last year that they were going to call it a day. Their final ever festival appearance in the UK was at Slam Dunk, and then they announced a whole string of shows with various supports and stuff like that. And yeah, the reason there won't be a vlog for this is because I was kind of just enjoying the moment with my friends. I didn't want to, vlog it and just get the camera out and all that. And I was just kind of getting immersed in the whole atmosphere of it being their final ever show. So this was like my 9th time seeing Yumi at 6, so it wasn't my first rodeo or anything like that. But their set list was absolutely on point. They had a really good mix of like all of the albums across their 20-year career. And yeah, it was just absolutely fantastic. Everybody in the room was singing along to every single song, and it's really sad. Like, for me, Yumi at 6 were kind of a band that kind of amalgamated a bunch of stuff, like travelling and, all that sort of stuff. It's kind of hard to put into words, but yeah, it was really good. Just to briefly touch upon the supports real quick. So the Excerts are another band that I've seen like 7 times at this point, I think now. They smashed it. Kid Kapichi was a bit of a weird one, I think. They were great, like, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy their set, but there was a lot of people around me. I was kind of near the back because, shout out to Casey, my friend is currently like 6 months pregnant, so we didn't really get in amongst the sort of chaos. We sort of just stayed sort of to the back left of the room and just enjoyed it. Like, we could see the whole production, basically. It was really nice. But yeah, a lot of people around us during Kikupichi didn't quite get their vibe. Obviously, Kikupichi is like a completely different, kettle of fish to Yumi at 6. But again, that's nothing against Kikupichi, because I actually really enjoyed their set. But I just don't think the crowd was the right call. Don't think it quite
meshed with the vibe of the rest of it.
It kind of reminded me of when I saw Marmoset supporting Yumi at 6. Like, oh God, how long? It was like 7 or 8 years ago at this point, I think. And it was kind of the same vibe. Like, I love Marmosets. Like, I fucking love them. But the rest of the room didn't really get what they were doing, if that makes sense. And again, that's nothing on the band themselves. It's just that the vast audience in the room, just didn't get with them. But no, like I say, I enjoyed Kikupichi. I'll probably check them out again at 2000 Trees this year. So it was, like I say, it was quite an emotional night, and it's going to be weird not going to another Yumi at 6 show.
Well, I should reiterate as well, you have a Yumi at 6 tattoo on your wrist.
Yeah, me and my friends who I went with, we all got matching tattoos in like 2017.
So in a way, your friendship bloomed through Yumi at 6.
I would say so. Yeah. And it was kind of like a full circle moment for us in that in our college days, we had to do like a music video project, and it had to be of like a song that hasn't got a music video. And we collectively chose Fireworks by Yumi at 6, and we'd never seen them play that song until the final show a few days ago. They actually put it in the set. So that was kind of like a really cool full circle moment for us three. And I think it was just, like I say, I think it was just a fantastic way for them to close out their career. It's going to be, sad that we're not going to hear any more from that project. But, I mean, who knows?
Do you think Josh is going to move on to another?
I don't know. Thing? Like, I really couldn't tell you. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, like, some of the band members come back in some capacity in another thing. But
it's got to be difficult.
I don't know.
It's got to be difficult when you've dedicated 20 years, 2 decades to one project, and then all of a sudden you want to move on to something else. That's quite... I can't think of many bands that have done that.
It's a bit of an awkward one, like I say. But, so that's all the gigs that I've done since Spirit Box. And as I say, we've got quite a lot coming up over the next few months that I'm excited to do content for, to be honest.
So gigs I've been to since Spirit Box.
Yeah, apart from the ones that you've been to with me.
Of course. I saw a band called High Vis at Electric Brixton the day before we saw Green Lung and Unto Others.
Yes.
And I've got to say, this band are one of the best bands in Britain right now. No hyperbole. I know you've probably listened to me gush about their album from last year, which was just unbelievable. Guided Tour is just a must if you love your post-punk mixed with baggy, mixed with Oasis, bit of Britpop in there, hardcore punk, all these elements kind of in a brilliant fusion of styles. Also, on a personal note, get well soon, Graham Sale, because apparently he had to be rushed to have emergency surgery.
They had to postpone their, was it North American
That's
tour?
Right, and I feel so gutted from them to postpone that.
Yeah.
Because Americans, you don't know what you're missing with these lot. I mean, they're very, very British. Let's get this out of the way now. But
absolutely.
Genuinely, I think they are in the top 5 bands to come out of Britain at the moment. There might 1 or 2, certainly. I just love seeing them. The crowd was such a vibe. They were hanging on every word sung from Graham's mouth, and like crowd surfing and all sorts of shenanigans. Support bands were really great as well. It was Narrowhead and Whitelands.
Narrowhead, yes.
And there might be a vlog coming up for that as well. A solo venture, should we say.
Yes.
Actually, the other thing as well, before I get into the second gig I went to, I finally got a new phone.
Yes, oh my god, that was another thing in the updates and stuff that we haven't mentioned, is that Rob finally has a new phone.
Yay!
So we'll both have sort of equally levelled quality in terms of the videos.
Yes, because part of the reason why it's been taking so long for me to get to editing Green Lung and Unto Others vlog, and amongst other things, the quality of my footage is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So,
like I say, I had to pretty much film all of the Green Lung gig, like in terms of the band footage.
So just sorting through all the footage and determining which ones are usable is going to be a challenge in itself. But anyway, I got my new phone just in time to see Bob Mould.
Yes.
At this place called the Lower Third in Soho, which is in Denmark Street.
I thought you were just about to say in Denmark. I was like, you've not been to Denmark.
I went all the way to Denmark to see Bob Mould. I probably would, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a few bands that and like artists that I would definitely travel overseas for.
Bob Mould, ex-frontman of Husker Du and Sugar, two bands that are very, very close to my heart. And I just think the man's an absolute songwriting god. You know, Foo Fighters, Green Day, Nirvana, they wouldn't be a thing without his music, as far as I'm concerned. The guy's still kicking it at 64 years old. It was basically just him and an electric guitar, tuned up to all the way to 11, running around on the stage, you know, this small kind of underground club, which very much reminded me of the Underworld, to be fair. And it was just such a great vibe. Again, there could be a vlog coming out with that as well. He's also going on tour with his backing band.
In November, I think, right?
That's right. Unfortunately, the London date is sold out.
Yeah, so we might have to, if we do manage to pull together the funds and stuff to
We'll wait closer to the time. But yeah. Bob Mould, you are an absolute legend, sir. And can't wait to see you again. So, just to reiterate what we have actually got coming up, we're recording this on the 7th of April, and on the Friday this week, we're seeing Harriet again.
Yes, we are.
At the Camden Underworld.
Yes, and this is actually our first time catching Harriet at their own headline show. Every single time that I've seen Harriet so far has been at a festival, or obviously in the case of last year where we saw them support Fit for an Autopsy. So it's going to be great to see them at their own headline show. Hopefully that means that we get a couple of sort of deep cuts from the album. I really hope they play Visage, but
I do as well. That's a fantastic song.
But it's going to be interesting because just on another personal note, we've got somewhere to be very early the following morning.
Yes.
So I don't don't expect our footage to be like super up close and amongst it for that night.
No, it's going to be.
Mean, for the supports, we might be a little bit closer, but we kind of have to be a bit tactical.
Well, Grove Street and False Reality is supporting as well, both of which are hardcore bands. So
and both of which that are going to be at 2,000 Trees as well.
Yes.
So we'll get onto that later.
Yeah. Well, we might vlog that. We might just keep it on the download.
Yeah.
Just report back on the next podcast.
Yeah, we'll see how we feel.
We'll see how we feel. You have.
I've got a plethora of gigs in May. So in May, I've got Make Them Suffer in London. I believe it's at the O2 Academy, Islington. And then we're seeing Panic Shack at the Crawford Arms in Milton Keynes.
Can't wait for that.
And then I'm also going to be seeing Baby Metal next month, which I'm so excited about. They released a new song with Poppy, actually, off of a new album that's coming out in a few months' time. And coincidentally, Poppy is also a support on that gig, so I really hope that we get that in the set, but we will see. Moving on then, in June, we're happy to officially confirm now that we are going to be at Download.
Yes.
For one day.
for one day. We if you've been following the channel, you know that our Download experience last year was quite something.
It was.
And we ended up sleeping in your car for the Saturday evening because our tent got flooded. We decided before we try the full weekend experience again and get flooded out probably again, we're going to take it easy.
Yeah.
I already said as soon as Green Day got announced, that we were going to try for the day tickets for this year.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's worked out. They were very easy to actually purchase.
Yeah, I was actually surprised.
Surprisingly easy. I thought as soon as the day tickets went on sale, we'd have to go through like a massive palaver of being in a queue. But no, literally, it was kind of like in and out, bish bosh, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, it was quite interesting, but yeah, we will be going to download for Green Day. There are obviously other bands on the bill that day that we will.
Well, we're there. Let's face it, they were our main selling point for that.
They
day.
were.
However, Jimmy Eat World are there, who I also love. Weezer, CKY.
I'm excited to finally see Svalbard.
Yeah,
They're
Rise
playing on
Against
Friday
as well, who I've never seen live.
Yeah,
but they're another band that I've that I've kind of grown up with a lot of their songs. And I'm surprised it's taken me this long to see them, to be fair.
Yeah. And then, so that's all we've got in the books so far for June. July is obviously 2000 Trees. We're going to talk about 2000 Trees a little bit later as well.
Yep.
And a newer gigs edition as of the last week or so.
Yeah, and I'm very, very excited.
And it's a few days before we head off to Bloodstock as well. So we have Bloodstock, but just before Bloodstock, we're finally going to tick off, I'd say for both of us, a massive bucket list.
Oh, huge bucket list, man.
Yeah. We are going to be seeing Oasis at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
I am so excited. It was my birthday a few days ago as we were recording this. And Rob's parents kindly gifted my ticket for that gig. I thought I had to pay back a friend of a friend, basically.
So essentially, my mum and dad, some of their mates basically originally had tickets for the show, couldn't go. So they offered it to me and Laura.
Yeah.
And, not wanting to make a fuss out of it, at the time I was like, we'll see how we feel. Kind of. And then we kind of wrangled out of other responsibilities, shall we say,
let's just say that without going
into too much detail, because there was no way I was passing up the opportunity to see one of my favourite bands ever.
Yeah.
Unashamedly saying that, by the way. We've already seen Liam live at Nebworth.
We've seen Liam and Noel together.
And Noel in Birmingham. So to see them both together, I mean, this was... Hell truly froze over when they got back together.
Yeah.
This was like CM Punk coming back to the WWE a few years ago.
Yeah.
Again, I've got WWE on the brain. I just had to get that out there.
Of course.
They've just been a constant in my life since I was very, very young.
Yeah, same for me.
My first two albums were Morning Glory and Be Here Now, and Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers were also in there. I think those are like the three records I kind of grew up on. Should we say? When I was really young, and I can't wait for this.
Yeah, I believe we are seated for this gig, which I'm not bothered about.
Well, I'm not bothered about either, because I mean it's Wembley Stadium for one, which means I won't be in a massive tiz about getting there on time.
Yeah,
because they're seats.
You want a good view.
There'll be assigned seats.
Yep.
Just to experience them once is enough for me.
Same
I mean,
here.
Let's face it, we don't know how long this thing is going to last until another flare up happens.
Yeah.
Between the two siblings.
Yeah, so that's all the gigs that we have currently in our pipeline this year. There are a couple of things that we keep an eye on for the sort of later part of the year. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking Nova Twins. I'm thinking... you're thinking about going to Slayer.
Yes.
That's obviously July, but, there's a lot of other things that are sort of unknowns for the last 3 or 4 months of the year that we kind of need to wait and figure out.
Well, we need to wait on finances, I think.
Again, going back to the Pokemon thing, I need to wait for dates on stuff because I've only got so much annual leave left. We're also planning a trip to New York this year. So again, that's going to take a lot of time and stuff.
Now, I'm going to quickly do a couple of news segments, if I may. Because we obviously have a lot to catch up on since the new year. But I wanted to just go through 2 things in particular I think that have stood out in the last couple of months for me. The first one, which came as a bit of a shock to me, although then again I really wasn't that surprised. Brent Hinds left Mastodon. Mastodon, one of my favourite metal bands. I've been a fan of theirs for a very long time. We're aiming to see them at Bloodstock this year. And yeah, Brent, out of the blue, before they went on tour, he left Mastodon, and it was I'm not gonna lie, I feel like it has been coming. because he went on the record to say he was very dissatisfied with playing metal music. He wanted to move on. I mean, again, the You Me at Six thing. If you've been playing the same music for 20 years, I mean, in Mastodon's case, 30 years nearly, you're probably going to get bored.
Yeah.
There was probably some other underlying things with him there. The guy, he was the sort of very much the wild card of the group. The guy who would be the kind of troublemaker.
Yeah.
In a sense, he was the guy in Mastodon who would always make the headlines for the wrong reasons. There was a point where he got caught shouting at an engineer off stage because his sound wasn't right. The big rumor is that Bloodstock wouldn't have them back because of that incident. Because of a few incidents that they haven't really disclosed. And he also got in a fight with the guy from the... I think it was the guy from the Dwarves. Or I might be mixing that up with Nick Oliveri. It was some guy... He got in a scrap with someone. And it involved Shavo from System of a Down as well.
Oh.
At some award ceremony. And he fell over and split his head open.
Wow.
So he was always the guy who was a bit of the wild card. But the kind of wild head maniac. With his face tattoo and everything. But at the end of the day, a monumentally brilliant guitar player.
Yeah. Who
really added his own idiosyncratic fusion of kind of folk picking and kind of shredding, like shreddy solos. Shredding shreddy.
Shredding shreddy.
It's hard to describe if you don't really know that band that well, but he really was a huge part of their sound. And I think replacing him is, I wouldn't say it's going to be an uphill battle, but definitely finding a guy of that caliber of musician. If anyone can do it, Mastodon can, because they've probably know every and played with every musician under the sun at this point. They brought in a guy, Ben Eller, who had a YouTube channel dedicated to Mastodon, which I think is really cool. It's a sort of real life, almost famous type storyline. There's no news as to whether he's going to be the permanent member yet, but I think that's pretty cool that they got a fan. And who knows? Who knows how this will affect their Bloodstock performance? Who knows how it'll affect any of their performances going forward? I will say he was definitely the weakest singer in the band live, I'm glad that, Bron's still there and Troy and, Bill with his guitar playing as well. So there's still a great force to be reckoned with, but it is just very strange considering there's been very few bands over the years that have had little to no lineup changes. Mastodon was one of them. I think at the very beginning of their career they had a singer, but since about 2001 it has been those four guys as a constant, and then to see out of the blue one of them just leaving. I mean, fair play if he's gone on to pastures new and he wants to do non-metal based stuff, then fair play to him, but it's going to be interesting going forward. The second thing I wanted to bring up was a bit of a hairy moment. It
was so
ago.
Weird.
It was a very strange period.
It was like last month, wasn't it?
Yeah. Essentially, Alex and I think it was Wilkie from Malevolence, their picture was posted on a Sheffield community Facebook site of essentially a still of like CCTV footage of them.
It kind of looked like they were in like Debenhams or something.
Something like that. And it was, you go on these community Facebook pages, crime pages, and you see these kind of out of focus. Have you seen these people? They were last seen at X location at X time. And essentially that's what it was. It was a picture of them taken through like a CCTV lens saying they are wanted in connection with a high-stakes jewellery theft.
Something like that.
And I kind of shit myself a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Because I love those guys. I love that band.
Yeah, me too.
And I was like, oh, God, please let this be a publicity stunt.
And lo and behold,
thankfully it was.
It was. It was basically just a little teaser for like their music video.
Yes, which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, and the song itself is brilliant.
It's called If It's All the Same to You. It's from their upcoming record. But the video itself starred Alan Ford,
yes,
aka Bricktop of Snatch fame. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's like a true kind of love letter to sort of early 2000s British gangster films.
Absolutely.
And there's like... It very much is reminiscent of their Self-Supremacy video with like all these cars like coursers drifting and police cars doing drifts and things like that. You know, it's a big kind of staged bank robbery. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So it all made sense when you saw the video and like they were saying, oh yeah, this is... Yeah. They basically dropped a teaser, didn't they, for the song?
Yeah, essentially.
And it all made sense. So that was like... 10 out of 10 marketing from Malevolence right there.
Absolutely.
How they managed to get like the Sheffield like community page or whatever it was to post it, and it was just funny because like there was loads of people obviously doing Malevolence jokes in the comments, and then there were people who clearly don't know who Malevolence are, having absolutely no idea what people are talking about, and they were thinking it's legit, and it was so funny.
But on top of palpable relief, shall we say, it also gave me an idea. Obviously, that was a publicity stunt.
Yes.
It got me thinking about other publicity stunts that musicians, bands have played over the course of music history.
Okay.
And I've found some of the more quirkier ones.
Yes.
If you like to indulge me. I've tried to keep this mainly to rock bands, but
yeah, I
think the first one is probably one of the most famous ones. A band called the KLF. Do you know this group?
No.
They were kind of like an avant-garde sort of electronica band from like the 90s. Mm-hmm. And essentially what they did in order to... I mean, I guess they kind of called it a performance art piece.
Right.
They burnt £1 million, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly being the key word.
I'm just going off the Wikipedia page here. It was what the K Foundation burned £1 million was a work of performance art executed and filmed in which the K Foundation, an art duo, which is I guess it's an art collective which includes the KLF, burned £1 million, which is equivalent to £2.5 million nowadays, in the back of a disused boathouse on the Ardfin estate on the Scottish island of Jura. The money represented the bulk of the K Foundation's funds that had been previously earned by the group as the KLF. So I guess it was a kind of a political statement, I guess.
It sounds like it.
But, this thing has been quite famous, I
can't say I ever heard about that before.
No, I think I actually first heard about this on a podcast I listened to.
Right.
But they discreetly spoke about the burning in 2004. Initially unrepentant, but in 2004 they admitted they regretted burning the money.
Okay, so it sounds like it was legit. But...
Yeah. And then they did a hosted debate saying, why did the K Foundation burn £1 million? So it all seemed a bit kind of artsy-fartsy type protest deal. But I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
We also have a band you might have heard of, the Sex Pistols.
Oh, no. I've never heard of them.
Now fronted by Frank Carter, of course.
Yes.
Which is still absolutely surreal to me.
Yeah, I've been seeing footage of them recently.
I think they've been getting good responses.
Yeah, I don't think they're at download the day that we're there.
No, unfortunately not, which is a shame, because, hopefully they'll be coming back round and maybe I can catch them on their tour. But cast your minds back, those of you that are old enough, to June 7th, 1977, where the Queen was getting ready to celebrate the Silver Jubilee. And Virgin Records had just signed the Sex Pistols, who were busy causing anarchy in the UK and making a name for their record label in the process. And what they ended up doing was sailing a boat along the Thames from Westminster to Tower Bridge, stopping under each bridge to play a cassette of the national anthem, followed by the band live. And Virgin Records actually gave them a budget for this of £1,500 for the boat cost as well. That includes, and 175 people attended. And what ended up happening was that the police got involved, obviously.
Obviously.
And I believe that Malcolm McLaren was arrested, and a whole bunch of them. If you've ever, I don't know if any of you out there have seen the show Pistol.
I was just about to say that was covered on that.
Yeah. Just very briefly, we watched that a couple of years ago, and I think it's well worth a watch. Personally.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, actually, fun fact: the guy who played Paul Cook in that is actually the frontman of the band Wonder Horse, who I've been raving about last year as one of my favourite albums of the year. But it's well worth a watch. I'd say it's on Disney Plus of all places, and it's there's parts of it that are very harrowing to get through. It's all very kind of explicit and all that, drugs and alongside the music career and the escapades they got up to. But yeah, I'd like to think that's a very famous one as well. This one I never heard of, which I think was equally as interesting, from another band of that era in the 70s, Gang of Four. Just going to tell you the Guardian article from 2010 about this. Gang of Four sell their own blood to fund album.
Oh my god.
Post-punk veterans offering box set complete with vials of blood and scratch and sniff book for £45.
I wonder how many people bought that.
Good question. So they sold their vials of their own blood to fund the recording of their new album, Content. The bizarre merchandise is part of a box set that includes a scratch and sniff book plus artwork illustrating 40 years of world history. Yeah, I don't think much else needs to be said about that.
No, I don't think
so. Although I will say, as it happens, their bass player passed away.
Oh, really?
Yes, I believe it was yesterday. So, yeah, rest in peace to him. Great post-punk act. If you haven't heard of them, go check them out. The Super Furry Animals, a band from the 90s now.
Where did you find these?
I did some research today. So basically, in order to promote, I believe it was a song that they were working on. I think I'm just going to read you what it says here about their press release about this. We, the Super Furry Animals, have acquired a Super Furry tank. The tank is our very own non-violent travelling sound system. Given the opportunity, we will decommission all existing armed vehicles. They will be adapted to shoot food over long distances to famine-struck areas, providing thousands of ex-soldiers with employment. In the meantime, our iron-plated mobile disco will be visiting a location near you in the near future. So this was a fax from 1996 that the Super Furry Animals made. Guess where they bought the tank from as well?
Go on.
Nottingham.
Really?
It was a techno tank brought from Nottingham for £10,000.
Wow.
And apparently Creation were fined to fund the opportunity for them to buy a tank.
Of course.
And it provided more publicity than any ad or positive review ever could, it said here. And I guess another case of some political statement, I guess.
Yeah.
But they ended up actually selling the tank, I read, to Don Henley from the Eagles, which is another very strange
that is very bizarre.
turn of events.
Yeah.
Apologies for not going into too much detail about this. Maybe you can have a look at more detail about these yourselves, but we have obviously one of probably the most famous,
I would say that this is the most famous one.
Publicity stunt ever in the history of music. The Beatles rooftop concert.
Yeah. I mean, it's covered in pop culture in The Simpsons. It's probably been...
Baby on board.
Yeah.
Hello, human fly here.
So, it's, I feel like a lot of people know about this one.
Yeah. But I will say it's a good excuse for us to talk about the time we watched Peter Jackson's Get Back film.
Oh, yeah, we did watch that, didn't we?
It was a long slog.
It was long. I think we just ended up breaking it up, didn't we?
This could be another case of we can go into this at a later date, but I remember really, really enjoying it. But essentially, Peter Jackson, who directed Lord of the Rings, remade their Get Back. Sorry, not Get Back. What was it called originally? Let It Be.
Let It Be.
The concert film that they made in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
He basically did what he did with his film They Shall Not Grow Old, involving World War I veterans, where he remastered the footage and cleaned everything up, using AI and using all sorts of at the time groundbreaking techniques. I did that all through lockdown.
Yeah.
And we watched that a few years ago, didn't we? And it was
we did.
very,
It was really...
very, very long.
Yeah.
He left no stone unturned when it came
Absolutely
to
not.
footage. But
Yeah.
it was just so fast because we both like the Beatles.
Yeah, we do.
Went to Liverpool, went to the Beatles Museum.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fascinating to see kind of all this old footage framed through almost a modern lens. You're looking, because the footage is, in terms of the frames per second and everything, it's so smooth.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Like,
very fascinating.
Even if you're not a fan of the Beatles so much, like,
just the filmmaking aspect of it, you'd probably enjoy, you know. And obviously, long story short, in order to promote their upcoming album, they staged a rooftop concert on the roof of Apple Corps. Yes. Which was their record label, and the police came to shut it down.
Yeah.
But not before they played a whole bunch of bangers, which ended up formulating most of the Let It Be album.
Yeah. So,
which, for the record, is probably my favourite Beatles record. It's a controversial choice.
I haven't, I don't think I've actually rated all the Beatles albums yet, but...
It's a controversial choice. It's probably between that and Help.
Yeah.
Because it's got, Ticket to Ride, you've got Tied Your Love Away, Yesterday... But yeah, the fact of the matter, there you go. Probably the most famous publicity stunt ever.
Yeah.
Although this next one is actually
I remember this I remember this happening and I was low-key livid.
Yes. So U2, I think just saying U2, you probably know what sort of publicity stunt we're going to talk about. But it's when Songs of Innocence came out. Songs of Innocence, sorry.
Yeah.
In 2014. And because they essentially, Bono and the Apple CEO at the time, I can't remember if it was Steve Jobs or if he passed away at that point.
I don't think it was Steve Jobs at the time.
He might have passed away at that point. But on stage during a keynote speech, to promote both the iPhone 6 and their latest album, decided that they were going to release their new album for free to all iTunes store users.
So, yeah, I remember this happening and I was like, what is going on? And then I remember that it started getting advertised on TV as well, like the album.
Well, U2 and Apple have had a long history, didn't they? Because they were like, I remember Vertigo being used in one of the first ever Apple ads that I remember seeing. Mm-hmm. Did you ever actually download that album and listen to it?
No.
No, I didn't either.
No, it's just, I feel like it's, I mean, unless I've deleted it off of my library, it probably would still be there, but I've never listened to it.
Yeah, so from this article, which is from Forbes, they've said, it's quite nice to choose which music you own, I'd say. And many people noticed that the album was automatically downloaded without them asking for it, which meant it sat there taking up space in each user's iTunes library. And if you're not a U2 fan, you might find this a rather annoying deployment. Since there were 500 million people with iTunes accounts at the time, it was bound to annoy quite a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, to add to that, it seemed to be impossible to delete. And
well, this is what I'm saying. I'm wondering if I was to open up my iTunes now, if it's still there. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. Given how many iOSs we've gone through since 2014, probably not. And also, I don't think the album even did very well.
I'm not surprised.
I feel like it was probably the lowest rated album U2 ever released. I wonder if that's partly down to the fact that they ended up annoying 500 million
Quite
iTunes
possibly
users with a copy of their album. I'm sure a lot of you out there probably remember that happening, but yeah, just let us know if you ended up downloading that album and listening to it, because I sure didn't, and nor did you. So we move on to a band called The Verve, you might have heard of.
Yes.
Yeah, Bittersweet Symphony, Urban Hymns, one of my favourite 90s albums. Short one here. In order to try and break into the American market in 1992, which is when no one really knew who they were, it was before they released their first album, A Storm in Heaven, which if you love your shoegaze, get on that album, by the way. They staged a publicity stunt playing their song A Man Called Sun for a few hours from the back of a flatbed truck driving around New York City.
Oh.
So literally they would just play that song over and over again whilst driving around New York City.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think it worked, because they didn't end up breaking America, but
that's one way to do it.
Another example of forcing a song onto an unsuspecting public, which probably didn't work, This one's really weird and really interesting.
I'm looking at the notes and I'm like, I don't know if I know this story.
Yeah. Well,
maybe I do. I don't know.
So, Queen.
Yes.
A band that if you're not really, I mean, you can't really be British and not know at least one Queen song. You know?
Yeah.
For this particular example, for their album Jazz, the band threw a launch party. It began with guests entering and being offered complimentary oral sex.
Oh!
And at various stages throughout, you could look up and witness Freddie Mercury sniffing cocaine off a tray attached to the top of a dwarf's head. A live act beheading chickens with a bite performed on stage. 300-pound Samoan women lounged on banquet tables in the nude, smoking cigarettes out of various orifices. And it ended with the £200,000 budget considered well spent. And then for Bicycle, which I think was on this album as well.
I don't know.
To promote the track, the band decided it would be a good idea to organise a bike race around Wimbledon, London. However, they weren't interested in attracting Beryl Burton or Marianne Voss, according to this far-out article. Instead, they invited 65 female professional models to take part. Then they made the request that these folks race in the nude.
Oh.
So the band filmed this during daring dash around Wimbledon and airbrushed out any private parts to create a just about PG music video.
Jeez.
And snaps from the day's events were used for posters. Rock and roll, right?
Rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie was always kind of known as a bit of a wild party
He absolutely
guy,
was. If any of you have watched Bohemian Rhapsody.
Which, by the way, for the record, I don't like that movie at all.
Yeah, but they cover, like, a little bit of, like...
That movie should have been rated higher than PG.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
I will give them credit for finding probably the most Brian May lookalike that isn't Brian May to portray Brian May. Same with Roger Taylor and John Deacon.
Yeah.
Didn't really think... it was all right.
I like Rami Malek.
Rami Malek as Freddie, you know. I think the story just annoyed me more than anything, you know, like... insinuating he found out he had AIDS literally just before walking on stage at Live Aid.
I think they've already kind of said that was done for dramatisation.
Nah, that was just too far beyond the realms of fact or whatever. It very tropey, you know what I mean? Whereas Rocket Man,
I've not seen Rocket Man yet.
Really like Rocket Man. Just a couple more and then we'll move on. This one is really, really weird and quite sadistic. But, you know, it's not one for Kiss to pass up a marketing opportunity.
Of course not.
So, when they did a Kiss comic book in collaboration with Marvel Comics in 1977, I'll let Gene explain this. So, I'm reading again from an article here, Snopes.com. As the Kiss comic book project moved along, someone came up with the idea of putting real blood in the ink.
Oh, for God's sake.
We got into a DC-3, one of those big prop planes, and flew up to Buffalo to Marvel's printing plant, where they pour the ink and make comic books. A notary public actually witnessed blood being drawn. Sure enough, Kiss members allowed their blood to be drawn during a concert stop, and they later flew up to New York to be photographed, adding their vials of donated blood to a barrel of red ink. So... if you read a Kiss comic book, you probably got hepatitis.
Maybe.
And I'm so sorry for you if you did. I mean, let's face it, how many diseases does Gene Simmons not have at this point?
Yeah.
Finally, the last one I'm going to go on about, because I'm sure you're on tenterhooks for me to finish up this segment. L7, who are a band who I really... very much admire.
I like L7, yeah. They're good.
Really great grunge band from the 90s. They're still going.
They are.
Good on them, you know, and I saw them at Download and I thought they were fantastic, although the sound was pretty rough that day, and they also had to have a very much a last-minute replacement drummer. I'm talking like the week of their drummer broke her arm.
Oh, gosh.
So, fair play to them in that front. This is from The Guardian again. Into their 30s, they showed no signs of calming down. Audiences on a rare visit, and I believe this was at the garage in Highbury. Was it, or Islington, somewhere like that. Audiences on a rare visit can participate in a special raffle. The winning ticket holder gets to meet intimately with drummer D. Placasse. The less than demure singer Donita Sparks explained, "Rock and roll is prostitution. We want to give our fans more bang for their bucks."
Oh. Well then.
So, On that note, I think we're going to move on.
Yeah, I think you can leave that to
Whether that
imagination.
actually happened, I don't know. You're going to have to, again, seek that out for yourself. But, yeah, what do you think of that segment?
Yeah, that was intriguing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got a few more ideas which we won't spoil in this podcast.
No, we'll probably cover a lot of these more ideas in a future podcast.
Yeah.
We're gonna probably end this with just talking about the most recent 2000 Trees announcement highlights.
And I must preface that this is the final additions to the lineup.
Correct.
So this is now locked and loaded, which means that we can just eagerly await the Clash Finder, because I tell you what, these new additions, if any of you watched my reaction to the second announcement, you'll have heard me say that the Thursday was probably the weakest day. I can proudly say that these new additions have just upped that.
Pretty much turned it round for me as well.
Yeah.
It's become one of my most can't miss days.
Yeah. So we'll start with the Wednesday. So the only thing that we had missing from the Wednesday was the co-headliner, if you like. I think
I'd say they're more the headliner than the co-headliner.
I think the way that they've put it on the poster and stuff, though.
They're certainly headlining They're certainly headlining the Forest stage,
yeah,
right, which is like the main stage of that day.
But anyway, it's Hot Milk, and I freaking love this band. I low-key, at the time of recording this, I low-key was going to go and see them tonight if I wanted to. But then other things have come up and I'm like, no. But also, now the fact that they've been announced for Trees as a Wednesday headliner, I am absolutely buzzing.
See, I've never seen Hot Milk live. You have.
I've seen them now twice.
I believe they played Trees last year as well, didn't they?
They did play Trees last year, but I had to miss a good chunk of their first bit of the set because we were seeing Palm Reader's final show.
That's right.
So this is basically making up for that and then some.
100%.
Because they're also going to have a new album out before 2000 Trees. So...
And I'll tell you what, actually, their most is it their most recent single?
Which one? 90 Seconds to Midnight?
90 Seconds to Midnight.
Well, that's the second single.
The one with where Frank Skinner's in the video.
Yeah, that's 90 Seconds to Midnight.
Yeah. Is a because I was a bit hit and miss when it came to Hot Milk. I was like, yeah, they've got a few things here and there, but I wasn't interested. And then this song came out, and I was like, oh, this actually sounds. They are going in a direction I very much like.
Yeah.
More guitars.
Yeah.
Bit of a heavier production kind of side of it. A bit more punkier.
Yeah.
Kind of. I'm really digging it, honestly.
Yeah.
Check out 90 Seconds to Midnight by Hot Milk once you get the chance. It's very
so,
much... I'd say it's quite different to their usual output.
I would say so, for sure. I mean, I've been a fan of Hot Milk for ages. As I say, I've seen them twice. The second time, which was obviously the first time that I saw them, was in a very small place in Nottingham called the Bodega. And you've been to the Bodega, you know how small it is. So I saw Hot Milk there like 4 years ago, I think, at this point. Maybe it was even more than that. So it's awesome to see how far they've come. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Wednesday even more now. I feel like Wednesday is just absolutely stacked.
Absolutely. Who else have we got then?
So I've got written down here for the Thursday, I've got a few bands here. We've got False Reality, which we've already mentioned in this podcast. At this, by the time we get to Trees, it'll be the third time that we see them. And they're an excellent upcoming UK hardcore band. Definitely go and check them out
100%.
If you haven't listened to them already.
Male
in your
Reared.
homework.
Male
Reared, yes.
Copyright
definitely.
Courtney from Spirit Box.
So False Reality is definitely one to see. Another band for me that I'm very excited to finally check off my list is Vexed. You've seen Vexed before at Bloodstock.
I have. Have you never seen Vexed?
Nope. I've never got to see them before.
Because I did see them at Bloodstock. It was the first Bloodstock post-pandemic.
Yes.
And yeah, I thought they were really solid. You know, unfortunately, I think the singer, she was going through the motions a bit because her grandma had passed away just before the set happened. So you could kind of tell that they were going through the motions a bit. But, you know, like, they're still a great... how do you call them? Like death metal... metalcore, death metal kind of...
kind of. Like, because
they're not... Very industrial kind of sound.
Yeah, they're not like metalcore in the instrumentation because...
No.
They've got lots of like pick scrapes.
Yeah, they definitely lean towards the kind of industrial new metalcore side of metal.
Yeah, especially with her vocals.
Than like the melodic death metal, trad metal sounding side. You know, but that definitely, I'd warrant checking them out.
Yeah, for sure. And then another couple of names on at the Thursday that I'm really excited for. Super Bloom.
Yes. Oh, I'm so stoked by Super Bloom. A band from America, along with kind of this big wave of grungy kind of 90s afflicted bands who I'm completely obsessed with.
Yeah.
And the only gigs they've really played in the UK so far have took place at really hard to reach venues.
Yeah, and really awkward timings.
Yeah,
as well.
like New Cross Inn, which, you know, someday I'm going to go to New Cross Inn, but it's in such an awkward area of London.
Yeah. And then I guess the final name that we should talk about on the Thursday are your boys.
Well, yes, it's my boys indeed. It's been a long time coming, seeing these lads back on festival stages.
Yeah.
Puppy. I don't really know what else I can say that hasn't been said.
I know, in the long intro to the vlog of theirs last year.
Of course, yeah.
But hopefully,
me gushing about it, but
yeah,
just go and watch that for, you know. There we go, cross promotion. Go and watch that in order to find out how much I love Puppy. But they have actually been asking for what songs do you want to hear, and of course I'm spamming the chat with songs that they've barely played, like And So I Burn from The Goat and things like that.
See, I think I've only seen them do that once, but yeah, that's like some of my Thursday highlights. And then going into Friday, we've got Press Club, who we saw last year, and they were really, really good. So I'm excited to see them again. They're actually playing like a few shows in the UK before Trees as well, so I'm low-key tempted to see them at one of those, but we'll see. And then finally, my last sort of big highlight, I would say, off the top of my head, is Heaven She. I am so excited.
Right, do you want to explain Heaven She?
Yes. So Heaven She, for anybody who doesn't know, is the current solo project of Jenna from Tonight Alive. So Tonight Alive have been on like a massive hiatus since their most recent album, Underworld. That came out in like 2018, 2019. And since then, the band have been on a bit of a hiatus, but Jenna has been continuing to write music, and, you know, she's been sort of exploring, you know, other sort of elements of her creativity, and that's where Heaven She was born. So far, she has like an EP and a couple of singles. And this is actually going to be her first show outside of Australia. So I think it's incredible for the 2000 Trees like booking team, like in terms of them getting that locked in.
Yeah.
And this also hopefully means that because Jenna's in the country, she'll do some more shows outside of Trees, and then I can see more of the project.
Laura is crossing her fingers.
Yes, you can't see
For
it.
the record, you can't see it, but yeah.
Honestly, do you know what was funny as well? I actually commented on her Instagram. I don't think I told you this, but she put out a post saying, yeah, this is my first time, you know, internationally with Heaven She and blah, blah, blah. I put a comment on her Instagram and I was like, I've literally been manifesting this for so long, and she actually responded. So, so I was very excited when that happened.
I bet, yeah.
But yeah.
Continuing 2000 Trees streak as well of booking top Australian acts.
Australians, yes. But no, legit. If you wanted sort of a bit of an insight as to what she does on this project,
yes,
it's a lot of jangly guitars, a little bit punkier in places.
Really ethereal. I Wish I Had a Friend, for example, really does. It's really atmospheric, but it's got. She's a phenomenal singer.
Honestly, if we ever did a podcast topic on most underrated singers in our rock and metal alternative world, Jenna would be on there. I don't think enough people talk about her songwriting and stuff.
Because you've tried to... Well, I say try. You've played Tonight Alive to me.
I have, yeah.
And you've given me album recommendations. I haven't got round to them just yet, obviously. But as soon as I heard Heaven She in the car, I think you were playing when you were driving somewhere.
Essential is also like a big sort of one that I recommend if you've not listened to them before.
Yes. I was like... Oh, wow, this is really, really cool.
Yeah, honestly, she just has a way of, like, writing lyrics and songs in general.
But I think, I think this kind of... undercuts the disappointment not having marmosets there, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I was low-key wanting marmosets.
Softens the blow. Yeah. Because, you know, I think she was like kind of low-key your second most wanted artist to play.
I would have loved marmosets at trees, but
it wasn't to be, sadly.
Wasn't to be for this year, but hey-ho. So yeah, those are just a couple of like my little nitpicks of the newer people that got announced. But as I say, overall, I am very excited for 2000 Trees. I always get excited for 2000 Trees.
We are so stoked for the festival. We've got a packed summer ahead of us. We really do. We're not doing Slam Dunk this year.
No, I think we've
established
kind of alluded
that already.
to that. And we can't do it now anyway because we've got my dad's birthday stuff that weekend now.
Sure.
So,
but you know, just in summary, we are doing download, but only one day, which is the Friday.
Yep.
And that's going to be sensational because I'm hoping to bring my bandmates along with me as well. We're doing Bloodstock in full, which is probably my most hyped festival of the whole summer.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Obviously, that'll be like
brilliant lineup.
Yeah, that's just gonna be a great one to edit and put together.
2000 Trees, which is obviously, you know how much we love that festival.
Yeah.
Seeing Oasis over the summer as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just relentless. Really.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely stacked, and we're very much looking forward to getting back in the content making stuff.
Yeah, you know, and hopefully I will find the motivation again at some point. You know, it's been a weird year so far. It really has.
Yeah, I feel like this year has just gone so quick.
Yes.
We've already done so much.
Yeah, I can't believe we're nearing the middle of April already.
Yeah.
You know?
It's going to be crazy.
Insane.
But yeah, hopefully, in between all of that, we'll probably have some pre-festival prep content as well. We'll show you like what we're going to be packing to Trees and Bloodstock, because they're both very different vibes in terms of like, you know, what we will pack and stuff. And yeah, we'll do all of that. And
yeah, well, there'll be bonus content coming your way, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
I've written down a ton of ideas we could do, implement. Whether we'll ever get round to doing any of them, who knows?
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've seen a few of your notes whilst we've been, you know, just chatting away, and there's definitely some stuff in there that I think we could put in future podcasts.
Yeah, or maybe just do own individual videos.
Yeah, I would love to do, like, if at some point I could ever find the time to start doing like video essay content on this channel, I would love to.
Yeah, same. You know, like that was one of my ambitions when we started this project, is to do, you know, potential list videos or video essays.
Yeah.
Just again, finding the time
to write a script and get all the content together and not get copyright with, like, you know, footage and stuff.
It's difficult, you know. You understand why these, you know, usually these videos are made by big companies, you know, post-production houses, and with a team of several hundred people working on these.
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult to do a two-person thing.
Honestly,
this,
like, fair play to, like, you know, I watched
Simon, Stu, Chids, you're all absolute legends for doing Meat and Metal, all doing this just under the province of just a very small group of people, because it's just like, I don't know where you guys find the time. Right, well, that's going to do it then for the Alt Pulse Project podcast, episode number 5.
Yes, a bit of a short one today because, you know, we just wanted a bit of a catch up with you guys and, you know, just sort of tell you where we're at and to tell you that we're also not dead.
Yeah, saying where the hell we were, absolutely. Who knows? I mean, I'm quite excited to what future podcasts could hold. Maybe we could go into our newfound love of WWE again.
Potentially, yeah.
Sort of kind of link that to music somewhat, because they are, I feel like wrestling and good music, rock music anyway, are very much intrinsically linked.
I would also say that, like, some wrestlers are definitely metalheads.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, and some of them even play metal bands.
Mm-hmm.
The Butcher from AEW is actually the guitar player for Every Time I Die. Or was the guitar player for Every Time I Die.
Okay, well, there you go. We're not going to spoil you with too much of
that's a whole nother video that I could end up coming up with. But yeah, it just remains to say that I'm Rob.
And I'm Laura.
And we will catch you again very, very soon, hopefully. Cheers.